How do you approach a guy that has a tremendous upside and has been called a generational player, but probably hasn't performed to the expectation of that level yet? And how do you get the best out of him?
First thing I would say is, I guess on number one, let me start by this. Here's what I've heard about Connor Bedard. He loves hockey. The words that somebody said to me was, I've never been around a guy who loves hockey as much as him, and he wants to win. Oh, I'm getting locked out
It's
here,
okay.
boys. I'm in the dark. So if you're those two things, that's a great starting point, like without a shadow of a doubt. And listen, does he have things to learn and to grow in his game? 100%. But you show me a good young star, and I'll show you a guy, a guy who grew up as a star. I'll show you a guy that has things to learn at the NHL level in terms of how to become a winning hockey player. What happens with all these elite players is they can play a certain way in college or junior and have great success themselves, and their teams will win because they're better than everybody else by a country mile. And then when you get to a level where you're not better than everybody else by a country mile, you have to learn to do all those things that make you a great two-way player. I watched it with, like I coached Jack Eichel in multiple world championships. And there was a time where a lot of people said a lot of things about Jack Eichel. And guess what? He became a great player. I thought arguably their best player when they won the Stanley Cup. And if you go through, almost young guy by young guy, and honestly, if you kind of look just point production wise at Connor's first 2 years and compare him to some of the very best players in the league, the Nathan McKinnons, the Jack Eichels, the guys like that, there's only a couple. And it might be McDavid and Crosby, who's are, much greater than that. So from just a pure point standpoint, I think his years have been, I don't think they're out of line of what other great players have had. From a learning to become a great winning hockey player, I think that's what every young guy has to go through. Matthews, McDavid, all these guys. So that's ultimately our job as the coaching staff, is to help him learn how to produce at the high level while still playing that winning hockey. And that's the key to it, is you can't just produce points. You got to do it and play winning hockey. And we'll get him there. And if you love hockey and you want to win, you will get there. And I hope he's strong in his beliefs, and that can make it sometimes not harder to deal with. It just means you have to connect with them, but you want people that are strong in their beliefs. Those are the ones that end up being the best. Mm-hmm. So all those qualities to me, honestly, just excite me for the opportunity.
So how will you manage success next? How will you manage success next year?
That's a good question. What I would say is this: I think the most important thing by a long shot when you're where we're at is building the championship level culture. So what does that mean? That's an easy buzzword. I get that. What I'll manage is, or what I'll try to monitor is, have we created a high championship level standard, and are we holding our players to that standard? Okay, so from a coaching staff, are we doing that? And are the guys getting to understand that? Are they starting to adhere to that, where they are carrying themselves on a daily basis to meet that high standard? And then are our best players taking steps towards becoming winning hockey players? If you look around the league, all the great cultures, their best players are the ones that lead it, and everybody else follows suit. And so if we can do those two things, then we're headed in the right direction. And I referenced in my press conference, I got to watch, one of the more successful football coaches in the NFL today, Dan Campbell, come into Detroit, talked a lot about culture, had a fiery way about him. But if you remember his first year, they didn't win. And what he did do, though, was implement culture, and that has now paid off in spades over the last couple of years. And that's kind of the same approach. So for me, it's not necessarily, listen, do we want to win more than we lose? Of course. Do we want to win a ton? Of course. I have no idea what our ceiling is next year. I won't put a limit on it. I have no idea. But what I know we have to do is create a championship level culture.
So if Connor's playing winning hockey, or any of your prospects, that young group, what does that mean? What does that look like to you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. First, you're honestly, in the simplest sense, you're creating more chances than you're giving up on a shift by shift basis. And I know that sounds simple, but it is. That's just reality. So if you are trading chance for chance, to me, that's 50-50 hockey. You don't win in 50-50 hockey. If you're cheating for offense, so you go to a kind of loose puck and, Dylan Larkin will laugh if he's listening to this, and you poke and hope for that loose puck. That's 50-50 hockey. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. That to me is not championship level hockey. If you go in that loose puck battle and you stop on that puck and you make sure you win that puck, now you have it. Now you can create. And now you end up dictating the play. That's winning hockey. So all those things like stopping on pucks, playing from the right side, how hard your reloads are coming, both, I guess, transition both ways, offensively and defensively, how those first three steps look like. When you watch that game tonight, when the offensive team turns a puck or whatever, the loose puck recovery in the ozone and the other team's going the other way, watch how hard everybody reloads. They're going to reload like crazy. That's what championship level hockey looks like. You have to be great defensively to win in the end. You just have to. So learning to be great defensively and creating lots of offense is ultimately what the best teams look like.